going on, everybody? I'm Jeff Kirkshin, and welcome to another episode of Do What You Love. And today I'm so excited for our guest. It's somebody I've wanted to get on since I started the podcast, because if you know me, there's one thing you should know. It's that I've always believed that you should always speak to people from different backgrounds, different perspectives on life, different places from where they've come to where they are today to learn more about the world. I mean, I think that should go for everybody. So if you're listening right now, and you've never met somebody who served in the military, you've never met anybody who's, handicapped, if you've never met anybody who's a dad, if you've never met anybody who is an adventurer who brings his family across the country for beautiful reasons, well, let me tell you, meet Adam Poppenhouse, my dear friend. And Adam, I can't thank you enough for joining us today for Do What You Love. I've been looking forward to this interview for quite some time.
Absolutely, man. I'm so happy to be here. This is exciting for both of us, I think.
Well, hey, I'm here to tell you that you and I, just for everybody listening, we met here in Las Vegas and could not have led different lives to the point that we had met, but also we have so much in common. We've actually lived in very many of the same places, and we'll dive into that a little bit more. But Adam, I want to first say thank you for your service. You are a veteran of our country, and more than I can say of anything. You know, people always say, Jeff, oh, you got a cool job, oh, you got a cool podcast, whatever it might be, but like, it's really what you have done for our country, and I have to say that is just the ultimate thank you and sacrifice that you've made for everybody. So thank you for that.
Jeff, I appreciate that. That's so I grew up in near Akron, Ohio, in Cuyahoga Falls, and I joined the military about as quickly as I could out of high school. I ran out of that place and deployed to Iraq, and subsequently I was hit by an IED in 2006 and resulting in amputation of both of my legs.
Now here's the incredible thing about Adam is, I have to say, this has not held you back from anything you've ever wanted to do. I mean, you are a father of two now. You're an athlete. You're an adventurer. If you're watching the video right now, you've got the sexiest looking Jeep in the background. I see an RV in the background of your shot too.
That's right.
So you don't let I don't even want to call it a disability, I don't even want to call it a handicap, define you by any reason. You know, I met you and you had just got finished done playing 18 holes, and you kick my ass every time we play together, and you don't have legs. I mean, granted, you do have prosthetics and prostheses, and for those who, I had never met anybody who lived their life with prosthetics, so meeting you was like a first. And do you ever find that sometimes when people meet you, they're not, I don't even want to say quick to judge, but they're like taken aback, so to speak, and be like, oh, I bet he has a story to tell?
Absolutely. Wearing shorts with prosthetics is probably the sexiest icebreaker there is. It definitely opens the door to lots of conversations and new people and more opportunities. That I think you touched on a little bit, but that's sort of what I've concentrated on since I've left the military. Is a lot of doors closed for me because of my injury, but there's a lot that opened. So continuing to try to walk through those has been sort of a goal.
Adam, let's go into those doors that have opened. I've had some really incredible people on this podcast. Hannah Olivas I had last 2 weeks ago now, and she's incredible. She is diagnosed with blood cancer, rare form, and she has not let that define her and let her get down. She says she has her bad days. I think we all do. However, she's now kind of shifted her life in a slightly different direction to help others and be a part of that. And you, my friend, I mean, are involved in so many incredible organizations. You are quite the golfer, and you've even competed at a certain degree. And talk a little bit about, for you, what it's like to find an avenue to still be athletic, because you're hell of an athlete before you went and served, and still are, I might add. But athleticism was a big thing for you, and then all of a sudden you go out, you lose both your legs serving our country. That must have been a shock. And how have you kind of still gained that athletic momentum in your life?
So for me, it was always about competition. I love being in the heat of battle. I'm just very, very competitive, probably to a fault. So that has always pushed me a little bit harder than maybe the norm, because it's one of those, I refuse to fail, and I haven't been given a level playing field. So that means you got to work a little bit harder. But yeah, so I grew really tired of walking around the same circles in the prosthetic ward and the physical therapy ward at Walter Reed, the Army Medical Hospital in Washington, D.C. So I started basically skipping physical therapy, and I would go play golf, or I would go turn wrenches on some cars, or just do other things so I was on my prosthetics and I was on my feet, if you will, but not necessarily just walking around the same circles with the same people. And so that kind of snowballed into, okay, well, now I can play 18 holes. Well, how do I compare to the next guy? And then that led to competition, and I was lucky enough to compete on the Veterans Golf Association Tour. And I think in 2019, I became the 2-time Western Regional Champion and the net national champion on the VGA Tour.
Wow.
So it was one of those things that, I was going to do it, and I made a decision to do it. And so I grinded. I had to do it at a high level, or I wasn't going to be happy with myself. So, things went well, and I got very lucky with how the national championship itself went. And so we took home the trophy.
So, this podcast, and when I asked you to be a part of it, you were, I don't want to say hesitant, but you said, hey, send me some episodes. Let me get the vibe of it. And this is what you love. Understand that you're doing what you love given the circumstances of your life. Myself as well, just like anybody else in the world. And so what I find so beautiful and encouraging about your story is there are so many people out there that are faced with what could seem to be unsurmountable odds, in the sense of you might have sat there in the bed and said, I am never going to compete at any level ever again, and my life is over. And maybe you had that day. Maybe you had
still
that
do
day.
Sometimes.
Yeah. But you said, I'm going to skip the therapy, and I'm going to go play 18 holes golf, and I'm going to get better. So it sounds like, doing what you love and playing golf and fixing cars and being out there and being competitive was the best recovery for you, better than what Walter Reed could have helped you with.
Well, absolutely. I mean, as far as putting Humpty Dumpty back together physically, they did a fantastic job. But, some of the mental stuff was even more of a struggle for me. And that had to be done on my own, I think, in kind of my own way. And the outlet of competition and immersing yourself and becoming pedantic about an activity that you're driven towards is that was my therapy. And so whether it's golf or throttle therapy or whatever it is, one kind of a funny segue, but one of my main nicknames is Gimpy. And when people hear that, they think, whoa, why are they calling this guy Gimpy? That's kind of offensive. But I take it as a term of endearment, because nobody calls you Gimpy if you're not trying to do anything.
Wow. I am absolutely mind blown right now to think about it, because, well, that's a very, very good point. And I know this sounds terrible, and I better not offend anybody when I say this, but it's like when I play basketball, I play a lot of pickup basketball, and people call me, oh, look at the white boy, because I'm usually one of the few white people out there trying to play, being a little point guard, passing it off. And at first I was like, oh, wow, okay, all right. But it was like, hey, white boy's trying to play here. He's trying to keep up. And I at first, you can always take a spin on something. And I think that's really cool, because you can't gimp around if you're sitting on your ass all day, right?
That's right. That's right. That's right.
So on top of golf, on top of fixing cars, on top of doing what you love in being a dad as well, you also got involved in something really, really cool through the Raiders Foundation. And I know you might not be doing it now because you and your family, and I want to get into the adventure you've had over the past couple months, but you were a part of an ice hockey team, a sled ice hockey team, right?
Yes, the Las Vegas Golden Knights sled hockey team.
Wow.
And so it's been months. I've been on the road since January. We'll get there, but so it's been almost a year since I've been in and around the team. But they have had some phenomenal success, and I got to tell you, that is a group of men and women that make handicapped people look very capable. They are very, very strong, serious athletes, very driven, and what they've accomplished in a very short time of this brand new franchise, it's been fairly incredible.
And I think that, I think there's a certain stigma when it comes to sports such as a sled hockey team, and I think I'm not afraid to say this in the sense of and I mentioned it earlier, I'd never met somebody who was handicapped. I never met somebody who was injured in serving our country. And there's an unfamiliarity of it that makes it almost nerve-wracking to approach, if that makes sense, you know?
I can see that.
And I think as human beings, it's okay to admit that, like, I remember when I was living in Cleveland, Ohio, I was hosting an event for with kids and young adults with Down syndrome and autism. And I invited a friend to go along, and he told me quietly in the car he was nervous because he didn't know, he had never met somebody with autism before. And
Okay.
he had said, I don't know how to act. I don't know what to do. And he didn't mean it in any offensive way. We need to stop being so sensitive, for goodness sake, and understand that he was just coming to me and saying, hey, Jeff, like, can you help me out if there's something going on or whatever? But I think the moral of the story is we're all human beings here, folks, and we got to treat each other that way. And when it comes to a sled hockey team, I'm here to tell you, listen, if you tried, me, anybody out there, to get out there with these guys and gals, you would look like a joke. You would be a joke compared to the athleticism on that ice.
It is one of the most physically demanding things I have ever been a part of. And I got to tell you, you may think that handicapped individuals aren't going as hard or aren't going to slam into each other, but that is bruiser ice hockey. And I mean, just I kind of lost my track of thought there, but yeah, it's just it was incredible for me to experience a brand new sport in such an environment. But I got to tell you, those hockey players are tough, but the ice is tougher. And so slamming into each other and playing the game may not necessarily be as rough as when you just fall over and hit the ice. So it was definitely an experience. I will definitely go back and train with them when I get back in Las Vegas, but I don't know if competing on the ice is I don't think I'm tough enough. Those guys and girls they are real deal, and they're big and strong. And I'm kind of a tall, lanky guy, and it tends to hurt a lot when you hit the ice. So I like race cars, and I like hitting little white balls with sticks.
We're on with Adam Poppenhouse. He has an incredible story to bring him to where he is today. He truly embodies do what you love. He's a longtime friend of mine. And Adam, just because I know firsthand as your friend how much you have taken losing both of your legs from the knee down pretty much, I know you have tougher days, but you're so lighthearted about it. And you make others feel more comfortable when you make jokes about yourself. You're able to laugh at yourself from time to time. And I have to tell this story because I tell this story, I'm not kidding. When someone says, give me one of your funniest stories, I say, here's Adam. Adam is a friend of mine.
Oh, no kidding? All right.
I swear to God. Here's Adam, a friend of mine in Las Vegas. And he lost both of his legs serving in the military. And one day we were out by the pool and it was 112. And I do this weird tiptoe run to the pool because it's hot as all get out on the rocks outside. And I jump into the pool and I turn around and I see him in his prosthetic legs doing an impression of me, pretending as if it's too hot for his prosthetic legs. And I peed myself. Thank goodness I was in a pool because I had never laughed that hard. And Adam, I think that's a prime example of you just being okay with laughing at yourself and making fun of yourself. And that's okay. We're all given certain things in life. And if we live feeling bad about ourselves all the time, it's never going to be okay.
I do remember that exact, since that was a good party.
That was a great time. That was our poker night, our poker day, right? Turned into pool day.
Yeah, we were supposed to have like a poker run out on a boat, and it was too windy, and so we just did a pool party and had a great time. That's what we did. We had a great time.
We really did.
But being lighthearted is a large part of having to deal with something I think that is so physically glaring. From the waist down, I'm covered in rubber and titanium. It's pretty obvious, and maybe my gait is a little weird when things aren't flat. So you do have to be able to find humor in it, or you'll just stay in that dark place that I think none of us really want to stay in. But that doesn't mean that I'm without my temper or my moments, or I'll tell you when in the evenings and in the mornings I'll use a wheelchair to get around the house. And if I get stuck in a certain position and it's harder to maneuver, man, that is when I lose my cool. And it's so it's a constant battle, you know. It's kind of like fake it till you make it almost, and it eventually you believe it, and eventually it's easier to act that way, and eventually it's easier to overcome when you do get stuck. So you know, I'm not perfect with that, but that is definitely you know, an appreciated statement, because it is important to what I've been able to do, I feel like.
Oh, I definitely think so. And I think on the outside of it, you know, myself, your friends, acquaintances, whoever might see a super positive, lighthearted guy who never has a problem in the world. But don't we all go home and get upset about things? Don't we all go home and get frustrated at the little things? I mean,
Right.
I think it's really, really just a beautiful thing for you to be just so lighthearted about it. Adam Poppenhouse, if you haven't seen The View, go to our YouTube account. And if you're just listening, you've got to see where he is now. We have to talk about this. Since January, you and your family have been on quite an adventure, and I want to hear all about it. You have two, and I mean beautiful kids. Absolutely gorgeous kids. One of which is starting school soon, right? This is exciting.
Yep. Yeah, Adam Jr., he's going to turn 6 in October. And then Senna, my youngest, he will turn 3 in October. Wow. So, yeah, we've been living in a motorhome since November, and been on the road since, around my birthday, the 12th of December. We went into California, and I had the opportunity to do some part-time shadow work with the Skip Barber Racing School. So then we came back to Vegas for the holidays. And since then, that was just after Christmas, we've been just traveling in this motorhome. We've seen 32 states. All the way to Florida, up to Ohio to see my folks, through the plains, then down through the Rockies, all the national parks, all the racetracks, we've been having a fantastic time.
That is incredible. And Adam, I feel like you're living the life so many wish they could do. You know, you see now this day and age of so many people who retire in their 60s, in their 70s even, and say, you know what, we're doing it. We're going to get an RV and we're going across the country. For you, in that trip from Florida to Ohio, to across the plains, down the mountains, what has been something that truly has put you back and just shocked you in awe that our country has offered? Whether it's a national park, whether it's a raceway, what has really blown your mind?
A couple things come to mind. The Space Center in Huntsville, Alabama, was, when you talk about mind-blowing, I had no idea the size of those Gemini and Apollo rockets. Those things are the size of skyscrapers. And then you see these little, capsules that these ladies and gentlemen were sitting in. May have just been gentlemen at that time, I don't know. But it's like a joke. It's a bottle rocket the size of the Empire State Building, and you sit on top of it and somebody lights it. You just hope for the best.
Right.
That was incredible to experience. But as far as the national parks, Keystone, that part of the world, unbelievable. But I'm into jeeping and off-roading, and Moab here, I mean, this is Mecca. This place is awesome. It's lower in elevation, but still has a ton of mountainous and rocky formations. I mean, it's an incredible place.
Wow. I mean, that's one thing I feel as if so many people need to get out and just see the world. I feel like so many people, unfortunately, unlike you and I might add, just live, die in the same place and never ever get out of their town. And even if it's for a week, just go do what you've been trying to do. Even this past weekend, I got a chance to go to Winnemucca, Nevada, which takes you right up the state of Nevada, and check it out. It's a mining town about 2 hours out from Reno, and way up northern Nevada. And it was it's like unlike any town I've ever been to, Adam. But I learned a little bit about myself. I learned a little bit about other people. And I think it's so important to be educated and learn more. And just looking at your view, once again, I've said it like 3 times today, but if you're listening, what we're going to do is we'll post a screenshot at the end so you can check this out. Also, just go watch it on YouTube too, because it's like, man, just gorgeous where you're at right now. So you've
Really
checked
is.
out so many amazing things, and you're heading back to Las Vegas. Will you still
Yes.
be in the RV lifestyle at that point?
Yes. So we are awaiting a home build near the Lone Mountain area in Las Vegas, and that should be completed September, October.
Wow.
So until then, we will still be we'll be living the parked RV life. So hopefully returning to some of them more normal routine, and maybe Dad will actually have a moment of silence every now and then. But
yeah,
I doubt it.
That was going to be my next question. I'm excited for the Poppenhouse,
yes,
as you call it, soon to be built, and I will be there with a bottle of wine and a 12-pack of whatever beer you want for the housewarming to check this out. My fiance and I built a house too, and just with the whole timing.
That's right.
When I met Emily and everything like that. You two haven't met yet, which we need to change.
I haven't.
Absolutely. So she knew we were doing this today. She says hi, and she's so excited to get to meet you and your beautiful family. How has RV life been? Because there's a lot of people out there that choose this lifestyle and don't know what they're getting into. Give me one thing that's great about it and one thing that's a little more difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. First, give Emily our love too, and congratulations and everything. It has been it's been odd timing, but can't wait to get back and give her a big hug.
Absolutely.
But you know, the thing that I think we have enjoyed the most is just experiencing the different cultures throughout the states and the regions, and you know, for the better or worse. Some places we're like, oh man, we just can't seem to click with these folks, and other places, you know, you just feel like you've known these people all your life. But so that's kind of been a surprise, you know, a good surprise. The negative is that almost lost you with the wind. The negative, I think, was, you know, every time you drive that RV, you know, that's your home. So you're essentially earthquaking your domicile every time you drive.
Oh my gosh.
And so whether it's you know, an expensive problem or a big fix, or if it's just a knob on a cabinet, there's always something. Every time you move it, it's going to be something. So I've been joking, is, you know, the RV lifestyle is not necessarily the life of leisure I thought it was going to be. There's you know, but I enjoy that stuff. I like tinkering and fixing stuff, and you know, my water line blew apart this morning, so I spent an hour and a half doing that. And it's just kind of, you know, negative, but not necessarily awful. It's just kind of an unexpected chores, you know, that
right.
Didn't foresee.
Well, this is the kind of thing where you've been working on cars the better part of your life, and you know, if you put me out there with an RV and a blown water line, I would be calling you and trying to figure out what the hell is going on. And there's one thing we brushed over, which is your love for racing. It's your love for cars. Yes. You said that you've been to some raceways. You've raced yourself, and I know that we have a lot of race fans that like to listen to this podcast, being that, you know, I work for Coyote Country. We've got Las Vegas Motor Speedway here. So for you, what was the first introduction to racing?
So, you know, relearning how to drive after my injury kind of was my reintroduction. When I said I would go and turn wrenches instead of going to physical therapy, I bought this little Mitsubishi called an Evo, an Evolution. Little four banger with a big turbo, all-wheel drive, but there's a huge aftermarket industry or supporting industry for it. So you can buy a bunch of parts and slap them on there and make huge horsepower numbers, right? And they're great street cars. So I kind of dove into that and just started spending more and more time at this specific garage called Atlantic Motorsports. Rest in peace. They closed their doors about a year ago. And then, you know, one thing led to another, and I think at one point the Army actually called the shop looking for me. And the owner, Corey Peterson, another shout out, he was able to schmooze his way into accepting me on as an intern or an apprentice. And so that officially became my physical therapy every day, was to go to the race shop. And so from there, it you know, you meet new people and gain some knowledge. And so I started traveling with their NASA race team in the ST2 class or ST class, and that was kind of my trial by fire, was traveling with those guys, and we blew that car up in a bunch of different places and fixed it, and won some races and set some records. And I mean, it was a great learning experience, because the guys I was following around were true gurus, and they had immense knowledge. And so from there, I kind of got out of racing when my children were born.
Mm-hmm.
When I first moved out to Las Vegas, I worked for the Richard Petty driving experience.
Love it.
That was a cool way to spend a summer. It was hot, but it was great. They were good people, but it quickly lost its notoriety, or there's a word I'm looking for, but
the allure, so to speak. Yeah.
About the 200th time you help a hungover, overweight tourist through the window of a NASCAR Cup car, just the experience, it gets a little old.
Right,
but,
right.
So then I started playing some golf, and then more recently I've just been inundated with all these awesome, amazing opportunities through an organization or a foundation called the Resilience Racing. Mm-hmm. They are building hand controls and actively competing with disabled veterans, and so that was through a family connection, and then that led to some motorsports activities, so iRacing, or fancy video games, basically, through Operation Motorsport. And I'd love to talk about them for a second. They're just this incredible organization that I stumbled upon. They are dual national. They're so Canadian and American, mm-hmm. Military, 501c3, and I'm supposed to have talking points that I can give you, but basically,
talk from your heart, Adam. I esports and iRacing, dude. This is huge. My company, Beasley Media Group, is all up in this. We've got our own esports shows and podcasts and everything like that. So I know esports is huge, and I think it's awesome that esports is now diving into the world of injured and disabled veterans, and that's a cool connection right there.
Absolutely. When you talk about an even playing field, I drive in the Operation Motorsport series with my prosthetics, and I took second overall in the beneficiary class last season.
Wow.
So I was the only amputee in that. I don't mean that braggadociously. I just mean that it's an opportunity to open the doors for more people to be involved in the industry. And then, once you can become competent even or safe in a virtual environment, then maybe you can get out in the real world and try it without, some of the inundated risks that come along with a brand new race car and those types of situations.
You're absolutely right. You see a lot of racers these days, Adam, who are going for their big first race at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and when you talk to them, how'd you get into racing? Video games is the number one answer. Yep. I swear. Absolutely.
It's a safe environment to really hone your racecraft. Learn the lines of the different tracks across the nation, and where are your passing zones, where are your drafting zones, and how do the S's at Road Atlanta really feel with that elevation change? What does that do to the rear end? Well, what happens if I lower my tire pressure or my spring rate? Or you can really get involved and immerse yourself in motorsport through these new electronic outlets.
Yeah,
it's pretty incredible.
I agree. And if you really want to know what it feels like to be hit by a red shell by Wario, and he's this is the way. No, I'm just kidding. That's the extent of racing games I've played, but I know that there are these games these days, and there are so many great esports teams, and there's a lot of esports here in Las Vegas now that are pushing out this real life. And I've actually gone to the esports stadium, I guess it's called, over at the Luxor, and it's incredible.
Have you? I have not.
Oh, I'll take you, dude. I'll make one phone call. We'll go together, because it is so cool, and I know you would love it. Because even me, as I appreciate esports and I understand it, yet right. I'm not a competitor myself, and I was still blown away. So I'd love to take you. I think AJ would love it as well. Your boy, who's 6 years old.
Yeah.
I think he would nerd out so hard with you and I. We would nerd out together. So. Yeah. Adam Poppenhouse, dude, I'm telling you, I can't thank you enough, and I'm really glad that we did this, and I purposefully didn't want to do too much catching up before we started recording, just to ensure that we would get to everything I wanted to get to and let people get to know you the way I've gotten to get to know you, because you are, and I mean this, truly a blessing. And for you to be one of my first 10 episodes of Do What You Love, it's my pleasure. It was my pleasure to have you on, and I can't thank you enough.
You're going to get me all weepy-eyed, man. The praise and the gratitude goes both ways. What you're doing is amazing. I as well have stories I tell most of my friends, but just of what an amazing family you come from, and how easy and friendly it was to get to know your folks and your sister and at one time. So, it's praise goes both ways. I appreciate you.
Tell the family I said hi. Adam Poppenhouse, everybody. Thank you so much, Adam. Have a great one. Enjoy, and we'll see you back in Vegas soon.
Absolutely.